What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Acts of Creation. And on this week's lesson, we're going to talk a little music theory. Now, don't be scared, because hopefully this will be some music theory that you can actually apply and play, right? We're not going to get lost in jargon and in nomenclature here, all right? So what I want to talk about is chord scales. I love chord scales. They really help open up the fretboard, open up your fretboard vision, and they give you a really good understanding of what chords are at our disposal. Because sometimes when we sit down on the guitar, the problem is choice, right? If we don't necessarily limit ourselves on what we can play, we might have a hard time choosing what to play, right? The menu is just too big. Looking at you, Cheesecake Factory. So, here we go. So, chord scales. What is a chord scale and what does it mean? So essentially we're going to take a scale. We'll do a very guitar-friendly key of G major. Okay? It has one sharp and that's F, half step below your root. Okay? So we're going to play a G major scale horizontally across the low string. So you have 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Okay? G major scale across one string. So in music, we build chords by stacking thirds or every other note. So we can kind of figure out what we're working with here just by dissecting the scale alone. Again, I'm not going to get too into it, but every other note. So if I play 3 notes, the first 3 notes of the scale, well, I take out that middle note and I play 3, 7. That is an interval of a major third. Anytime you do that, 5 frets apart, you're implying a major sound. If I go to the next note of the scale, I have 5, 7, 8. So now my pinkies take out that middle note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? That's implying a minor chord. So if I do that through the scale, right, I can figure out what chords I have. So because off the first note, it's a major chord, minor chord, minor chord, major, major, minor, minor again. Now this 7th chord, technically it's a diminished chord, but it starts out with a minor third. So it's got that minor implication going on. So now, what does that mean for us as guitar players? Well, that means those are all the chords we can write with, right? So I can have G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and then major again. It's really tight up here, right? That is very useful for songwriting, coming up with ideas, practicing arpeggios, working on fretboard knowledge, learning about chord quality, i.e. major, minor, dominant, right? All of those things. There's a lot built into here. But for now, we can have a lot of fun playing our chord scale. So we just did that single note. So let's now build up some chords and get some more out of this, right? We can play single note, no chords. So we did the thirds here on one string, right? But now let's cross string them and start making chords. So we have 3-2 is a major third on the guitar, i.e. major chord, right? So then we follow. We have major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. Right? And the beauty about this chord scale idea is that it doesn't apply to only the major scale, right? If you like playing in minor keys, you can do this for the minor. If you like Lydian, you can do it Lydian. Now, all of those would be just variations of the major scale, but if you're into harmonic minor, the same idea applies. If you're in the melodic minor, the same idea applies. You just get new chords, okay? So, as players, right, if we're used, those of you who may play classic metal, old thrash, you've seen thirds before, right? The cliche from the power chord purgatory video that I did. One of the things you can do to change or get out of the sound of using just power chords is using thirds. So right? It gives you kind of a whole new texture and crunchiness, which is really fun to play. Okay? So we have single notes, now we have thirds, okay? Identifying our chord scale. Bar chords. Most of our beginners struggle with these chords, but we can move past them and pick them up pretty fast, and we can apply our chord scale, right? You saw me do that before. You have a major chord, major bar chord, minor, minor, major, major. Now, it starts getting a little tight up here. You can just apply the chords. Wrong key. Here we go. And oddly enough, when you play the major chord scale, it actually sounds pretty musical. And if you go over to, say, melodic minor, it really doesn't sound very musical when you go up the chord scale. And that's mainly because the function or the roles of those chords change. And again, that's another music theory topic, okay? So now we've gone single note, thirds, big bar chords, and that brings me to my favorite type of chord, and that's a smaller shell voicing. You've heard me talk about this before, but we can add sevenths and ninths and all kinds of stuff to this, and I'm gonna do that. We're gonna add sevenths, okay? And now, to find your seventh, if I'm playing G, this one is a half step below. All the major chords, except one of them, is gonna be a half step below. So our first one is gonna be G. This is called a shell voicing. Really great, modern, contemporary sounding chords. Okay, so I have my third, whether major or minor that we played with before, we're just adding another note to it now, rather than building a big 6-string bar chord on it. And what I'm gonna do is play the seventh. So it's 3, 2, 4. And then our little third shape is going to stay the same as we move through. We just have to apply the correct scale tone over it. That one's your different major one. This one's your dominant chord, so you're going to have a minor seventh on top of it. Again, if you're unfamiliar with your intervals, minor seventh, major seventh, perfect fifths, minor sixth, stuff like that. Again, I'm not going to get too much into that in this video. We can talk about it in another one. Then you have E minor, 12, 10, 12. And then 14, 12, 14. And then we're back at the root again. Our one chord. And these chords are great. You can slide between them. Again, chords stack thirds, right? So let's use that to our advantage. We can play the major chord and go up to its third, play the opposite quality. You've seen me talk about this in other lessons. That's a very simplified idea of what I'm talking about, but if I'm playing a major chord, I can go up a major third and play a minor chord, the opposite quality. If I'm on a minor chord, I can go up a minor third and play the major one. Lots of fun connecting ideas, arpeggios. You can take your chord scale and do arpeggio practice. Very useful. For example, things like that, and you just play arpeggios up and down. Really useful for your fretboard vision, all right? So music theory, guys, chord scale, I don't know what I would do without it. It's one of the most accessible and playable music theory concepts out there. You get a lot of mileage out of it, all right? So let me know if this is useful to you. Let me know other theory topics you'd like to explore. You want tabs and ways to support the channel down in the description below. Please subscribe, click the notification bell. If you haven't, we do this weekly. And as always, let me know what you come up with. Until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.